You better take it easy, CJ, with all this outside stuff.
I don't think she's gonna be here. Todd said he's gonna be late.
Roll call?
Barry,
Yes.
Boudreaux,
Here.
Vaughn,
Here?
Crockett, Geske,
Here.
Zimbelman, Mayor.
Yes, here.
Okay, I'd like the approval of the public safety minutes for December 15th.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, motion. Yep, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have public participation this evening. We have George Reichert.
Now, is this for safety or finance?
This is for safety.
I'm sorry, I meant to be finance. Is that okay, Mike?
Yeah, you can, yes, yes.
Okay, I know we sold the water system, then we sold the sewer system, and I know some money was given to the village during Goshen. I think businesses, and I imagine the village got some money, right, or no? I'm not sure.
We sold the water system?
I can't think
Yes.
what you call it. Well, I know when we sold the water, we got money.
Yes.
And I know we sold the sewer, we got money.
Yes.
But during Goshen, wasn't there money if you applied that, you know, like if you owned a business, like, I mean, just example, you own a business, Joe? I thought there was some kind of fund that was given out, pre-Goshen, no? Well, anyway, I thought there was. So my question is, I keep hearing talking about the money drying up for tax rebates. And I understand that sooner or later that's gonna come to an end, you know, and, I don't have a problem giving it up. You know, if that's what it, so be it, you know. I would rather see them try to stretch out the water, or the garbage, excuse me, stretch out the garbage longer if we need be, and, you know, instead of trying to do both. You know, I don't know how you guys feel about that, but, I mean, I keep hearing that the money's drying up for the tax rebates, so I don't know if it is or not, you know.
Well, we don't know for sure until after the forensic audit's done.
Okay, yeah, and like I said, if it does, I won't be upset. I don't have a problem with that. I don't know how many years has that been going on, 3 or 4 years? Anybody? I'm not even sure.
Chris, how many years?
4 years, so I mean, I do appreciate the 4 years, but, yeah, I wasn't dependent on that for income, you know, so if it comes to an end, it comes to an end. But, I just thought it'd be nice if they could at least stretch the garbage bill out with that money instead of trying to do both if need be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, George. The next speaker we have is Breanne.
No, she's gonna go. She's gonna, just go ahead and start your meeting. Brianne's gonna do.
Okay,
She's got an
well,
agenda, I think, yeah.
all right, we have also Mike Graham. He's going to speak on CFIS. Is that, do we want to do that at the next meeting, or?
He can do it now if he wants to.
I
Mike,
just
you wanna-
wanted to bring up a couple of points. My name is Mike Graham. I've been a resident for 30 years. I'm not pro-Goshen, anti-Goshen. I'm pro-Mantino. I'd like to see the safety issue straightened out without having to go to a CFIS. CFIS is, in my opinion, a nuclear explosion on any business or community it goes into. If you look at the numbers, it's about, before a company gets to this point, they've been through the process years ago. Only if situations or circumstances change should that be revisited. But I think it's a great bargaining chip. You can get local control and always have the CFIS as your backup if they don't follow the rules. And I just think that there's other options than pushing the red button. But you guys know more about it than I do, so just wanted to let you have my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Okay, items for discussion. We've got the short-term rental ordinance revision.
Would you like me to share a little bit about this?
If you want to, you
I would
can.
like to. So our village attorney came up with some paperwork on this ordinance. And I just want to bring up that in the very beginning, when we decided we needed this, one of our trustees, Mr. Geske, really thought it was important that we know who are the owners of vacation rentals in Manteno. Because when there are problems that come up, the police need to know who to call, who the owner is. If he lives in Manteno, can we call him on the phone? Is he going to respond? That was what we were looking for. We weren't looking to tell the owners how to run their business, how many days a week they could rent their houses, how they clean their beds or their dishes, or how much insurance they should have. There were a lot of technical things that came out in the ordinance that was first written. And it was quite lengthy, and we shortened it. So tonight, we're voting on redoing the ordinance so that the village will know exactly what it is they set out to find out, who the people are that own vacation rentals, where they live, what their phone number is. I think it also asked for a copy of their, was it their driver's license? I don't remember. Do you remember that, Joel?
I don't.
It says name, address, driver's license there.
Yeah, and it is important that we have insurance. I think we might have left that in. But as far as knowing everything about all of us and how many parking places we have and how many people sleep in a bedroom, we took all that out. I will say, I agree it's important to know who owns these buildings in case there's ever a fire or a police call or any kind of an event that comes up. So I agree with all of that. It's shorter, and also the fee. We all need to register, and I think there's a handful of vacation rental owners in Manteno. I'm guessing 6. So my personal feeling is that $25 to pay that for that license is kind of a minimal amount of money. What's that gonna do? So we took that out.
I get, and Joe's not here yet.
No.
But I guess the question I have is contract law, you know, license is actually a contract, and without consideration, because I'm with you, $25,
It's nothing.
it's,
I thought we talked about that, but Joe said we legally have to charge something. And
in
that's-
order for it to be a
Correct, 'cause we had said the
contract.
same thing already, like when we tried to discuss this back in November, like, let's go as low as possible. I think that was as low as possible. I think we had to charge something.
Well, he told me different, and
Okay, so
when I
that's-
gave him my
yeah, correct, and
suggestions, he redid this, I didn't.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
redid this.
The fees, I mean, it was never about money, but knowing simple contract law, there has to be offer, acceptance, and consideration is the money, and I thought that in order for this to actually be a binding or something enforceable, that there has to be a fee.
Well, when
Joe
he gets
wrote it-
here,
yeah,
and
we
we
can
aren't
ta-
gonna
we can
vote on
talk
this
about
until
that.
the regular meeting anyway, so you don't need to vote on it during a
Right.
committee meeting.
Do you want me to read all this, Mayor?
No,
Okay.
I guess the couple things that were taken out, at least from the revision, is the maintaining of the log of who's there, who's renting. I think, Chief, is that something that you would like to see in there? I mean, isn't that part of it? Not necessarily that they have to present every time who's there, but if there's an issue, you want, part of this is so this way you can go back and,
Obviously, if something happens, we need to go back and figure out who, what, where, and when, and if we have no record of anything, that puts us in the hole to begin with, so.
I can guarantee you that every person who has vacation rentals knows who's coming in and who's leaving. So that information is
and that's why I
obviously
thought
always
that
gonna be there.
having that in there, like striking that out, didn't seem to make a whole bunch of sense to
Well,
me.
what I didn't think made sense was asking us how many nights the people stayed, how much money did we charge, how much money did we make? Why was that important when all we really set out to find out was who owns the houses?
I'm speaking on behalf of myself. I could care less how much money they make. I could care less anything from that standpoint. And just like and CJ, I think you and I talked a little about like the square footage.
Right, that was,
I don't-
we
I don't-
were kind of modifying it live when we voted for this last time, yeah. At least in 325.7, I would like to keep at least then A and B, which is the name, address, telephone number of the renters, and then the dates that they rented. And again, we don't even get that unless we request it, which it says it in there.
You know what? As an owner of a vacation rental, I don't even get their addresses. I get their phone number and just that way to contact them. That's it, and their names.
Well, we at least need that then in there. Like, I get that you don't have the address, but like,
And anything that's needed by the village in case there ever is an incident, you can get through the website, the platform, whether it's Airbnb or VRBO. They're the ones that have all that information stored.
which is fine, but we're gonna go as a village, we're not going to Airbnb, we're gonna go to the renter or the person that owns the home and ask them for that. That's what this license is for. We don't need to play the roundabout game on our part. That's why we're doing this kind of
Well,
license to kind of figure that
I will
out.
never be able to tell you their home address because that's a privacy thing and they don't give it to me.
Well, then you can go to Airbnb and find it out for us. I mean, when I talked to everybody else, like Tiffany Parpart and all that kind of stuff, that was not the issue. The issue was like the tax on this, which I think is a separate issue. That's why I was a little confused why this came back up, because this was passed 6-0.
But
Like, we had all-
it was passed before the ordinance was actually written. Because the night that we had
No,
this.
it was written,
Yes,
we
it was.
amended it, was that we voted 6-0, and you could have vetoed it too, and then we could have came back and addressed it. That's why I'm a little
CJ,
confused.
the amendment wasn't written out, nothing was prepared. Joe Kankar, who sits next to me, said, why don't we wait and vote on this at the next meeting? But Mr. Geske wanted to vote on it at that meeting without having the finished ordinance right in front of us. So the board they voted on it, and that's what happened.
True, but again, it was 6-0. Like, it wasn't
But
like
we
there was
vote-
any hesitation, I don't think.
And
Well,
we
I didn't
voted,
think
it.
it
there
was
was a
done
written
correctly.
ordinance and we struck out certain
Correct,
letters,
yeah, we
all
had
the
the written
things
ordinance
that
and we
wanted
struck out
out.
some, that's what I thought, yeah. I can go pull back my notes, they're in my file cabinet, but that's what happened. What's that?
When I reread that ordinance and saw they wanted to know how many people were sleeping in each bedroom, you cannot have more than 2 adults in a bedroom. And how many parking places are in front of your house? Do you have enough parking to
And it's
satisfy
funny
people
that,
who are coming?
it's funny that we're asking all these questions on this.
Yeah,
But
isn't that
then we
crazy?
sat here at a meeting, planning and zoning meeting, about things that we can't ask, correct? With residents, parking, amount of residents per house, per square foot, and
Talking
everything
about for
else.
group homes?
For group homes.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's
the
a whole
ordinance
different,
is different
it's a
than,
completely different thing, yeah.
but then why are we regulating this, or we're regulating this a lot more than with the group home ordinances?
Because group homes are protected under federal and state laws, and this just doesn't fall under those same guidance.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, there
completely
was a
different.
lot of, I don't know, when I read it, ridiculous things in there, which are taken out now, correct?
Mr. Kankar told me himself that he cut and pasted from about 7 different contracts that he found up in Chicago.
Cut and paste.
Again, though,
Yeah.
my confusion is we had this, I read through it before we voted on it. There
It
was
wasn't
no
finished.
comments. No, but we had it though, because that's how Tiffany Parpart reached out to me and said we need to cut some things. So it was like a form, and then we moved, amended it as of and did. So like we've had all this for months. Nothing was brought up, and then now it's brought up after we've already passed it 2 months later. That's why I'm just confused.
Again.
If we didn't do our job in reading it, it makes us look bad that we aren't actually informed on the issues when we're voting on them.
Again, the whole purpose of even making this ordinance was because there was a house in Joel's neighborhood that he was concerned about, and he
Right.
said, we need to know who owns the vacation rentals.
We wanted to have some authority, if they did own it, to restrict them from doing that again. I think was the point. Not just knowing who they are, but being able to have some authority, some teeth to say, you've messed up, we're not gonna allow you to do this again, so that no other residents of Mantino have to deal with this.
Well, after my conversation with Joe, we agreed this is what we were going to do. So instead
Well,
of
Joe
spending,
did, but not the board. I mean, he's our
instead of
lawyer.
spending more time on this, CJ, it's kind of silly to drag this out. Unless you need to know if I sanitize all my dishes between every rental and how many people are coming in
We
and where
don't
they're
unless
sleeping.
it was requested, but I don't think we're gonna request it.
Well, it was in there,
Okay,
so,
why didn't you question it back in November then?
because it went through so fast, that's
You
why.
voted for it.
Right, but I
Right.
didn't realize.
That's enough. I think you guys are wasting a lot of time here.
Okay, let's move on here. All right, so we have the mental health advocate continuance.
Yep, that's, I had that put on there, but we can really take it off. There was some concern last week. We have a mental health advocate that comes in and helps with our mental health cases. She works like 10 hours a week. It's paid through our grant. As of last week, the grant, all the mental health grants in the country went away for about 48 hours. 2 days later, they reinstated them all, so That's not a concern at this point. Someday down the road, when that grant goes away, I may want to discuss to see if the village is interested in keeping her on just for our cases. But right now, we got her free on a grant, so we're good to go.
That's good. All right, general discussion. Anybody have anything they want to talk about? Mike?
No, I don't have anything on this, Peg.
Joel? Okay.
There was one thing I wanted to bring up, and I don't know if this is a proper place to bring it up because you are public safety, but I just want to bring it up because this was an item that came up when Clark Sorensen contacted me. She is a high school student who was concerned because every time we have state champions, we always honor them by posting signs at the entrances to the village. And she said there were a couple of years, and I think it's when she was in junior high. Is that correct, Joel? That
Yeah,
they won
yes.
and did not get recognized.
They won for 2 years. I think
So-
23, 24 is the team. 2023 and 2024.
Are we gonna be able to do anything about that in retrospect? Is there anything we can do to have signs made? Anybody have any ideas on that?
My idea that I've brought up in the past was the Wall of Fame for Mantino and talking about doing that in the park. Because we're blessed to have so many gifted athletes in our town, and it just doesn't end with athletes, right? We've got show choir, we've got, you name it, we've got our academic
FFA's been
scholars,
going,
FFA,
yeah, so.
FFA, I've had people that have asked me on that as well. And we'd run out of places to put it, so that's kind of, we had brought up the idea of doing a Wall of Fame in one of the parks, and I know that we had talked a little bit about some of the stuff over on, by Legacy Park across there. There was some discussions about that and waiting on drawings to be able to present to the board to take a look at, but,
Didn't we also mention doing something maybe at the square on that fence that's at the south end?
and we could, I mean.
Or maybe even the new bathroom building?
We have options, so I think that should be our spring agenda of
Okay.
things to address. And the park committee would bring it up on the next ones and talk and set some rules. I know that ideas that I had for it were that, you know, it's got to be team orientated, or if it's individualized, it needs to be from someone with our local public schools, not, you know, the whole argument becomes, got a kid that goes to Bishop Mack, do they get it? Well, as an individual, I think they're a resident, they should, but if Bishop Mack wins football state championship, that's not Mantino, right? And so I think that would be fair, but if we've got a resident of Mantino who wins individual state championship wrestling or track or whatever, they should be honored. So, and I know that we talked about that for some time, but we'll have to put together some guidelines and get everyone's
Let's
thought
get something
process.
going on that.
I brought that up over a year ago when Carter Watson? No, not
Watkins.
Watkins won
Watkins.
state in wrestling. So
Right.
that was the first time it came up. We hadn't won state. We hadn't won state in a while, at least in high school, I should say. Middle school had for girls track. So yeah, I don't know. That's what we got to figure out.
In Moore's, what they do is they have a sign like you see on the side of the road, and they leave it up for 1 year. So like, there was some IESA wrestlers, state champion wrestlers. They leave it up for 1 year, and then they give the family the sign.
Right.
Instead of having a huge, you know what I mean?
Which
For
wouldn't be a bad
individuals.
policy either.
Individuals.
And if they didn't want the sign, or either we do that, or we start making a kind of a wall of those signs yearly. That's not a bad idea either.
Exactly.
I
You
think
know
that
what I mean?
sounds like a good idea.
You know, I mean, the thing is like yearly, and then they get the signs, like the basketball team, then you could give, or I mean, say, for example, the basketball team wins, then you could give the sign to the school, or something like that aspect of it, because the problem is that, you know, you start getting so big with the signs, like, how many more, you know what I mean, like, how far back are we gonna go, when are we gonna go, you know what I mean, like, are we gonna go back 20 years, you know what I mean, then you got somebody saying,
That was kind of the conversation we had with, you know, all right, the Wildcats, you know, do we do one for a Super Bowl? You know, how many of those would you have? Would you have lightweights? You know, you could, the list becomes endless, right?
most of the time, like, with the youth stuff,
Keep
what
it on the
I've seen
field.
is like, for example, like the Wildcats, if they want it, put it on your scoreboard. Like if the soccer thing, put it on your fence, you know what I mean, like, that's a banner that you would have and take down. But I mean, like, I would feel that it would be the high school sports, you know what I mean, like, you can't, then you're gonna have, well, Johnny won the 10U baseball tournament, like, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
like,
And I think that we have to kind of put it all on
yeah.
pencil and paper and,
Like middle school, if IECS, I mean, like for part of the village, you know, I mean, the MAC thing, I get it, like if somebody wins wrestling or somebody does that, I mean, the football, you're not gonna put a MAC sign up, I mean, even though MAC will probably make the state faster than Mantino will, but whatever, I'm just joking,
yeah.
you know?
No,
so-
I mean that as a,
No, I get it, no, I 100%, and in that, like I said, in Morris, it works out well, because what they do is, and then, like, in front of the school, like the grade school, you'll see it says IESA state, or
I think
state.
Bradley had it right by Riverside. They have their
Exactly, and then they have
ISA,
like,
yeah.
you know, like, cheer competition, or they won this, you know, and then they have their own kind of board, instead of, if we start putting a board up for everybody that's, you know, for wins first place or something like that, we'd have to put up a board, huge board.
but we have to be all-inclusive, and I guess because I'm an
Sure.
athletic-minded individual, that's what's important to me and my family, but the
FFA
yeah,
or
FFA
show
is
choir
just
goes
as
win a major
important
that.
to other
Correct.
families,
Yeah,
'cause
I
that's
think the
their
middle
thing.
school, high school will help.
Yes.
Limit that to a point.
You know, and there might be an opportunity, maybe Jim would know, if, like, even off the sign, just to put something on both sides, you know what I mean, like a, kind of like a board, you know what I mean, like, where the signs could come up and down, come off, you know what I mean? Like, you see a lot of villages, they'll have the village sign, and then on the side of it, it'll say, you know, state champion, or home of, you know, like you go into Moments, home of Todd, you know,
Yeah.
Peterson, you know what I mean, former NFL player. You know what I mean, something like that, where it could come off and on, and then, because you're not gonna wanna go back 15, 20 years, I mean, you'd probably wanna keep within the last 5 years.
Now, the one thing I'll say is what we've done in the past is we've usually recognized teams or whatever, had them at village board meetings. And you were part of that as well, that we've had that. And this particular individual, somehow it slipped through the cracks. She was not recognized, and I think it would be appropriate for us to recognize her at one of our village board meetings and have her come up and get a certificate and,
Sure.
you know, acknowledge her. I think that would be appropriate. She's a tremendous athlete, and
Sure.
how she didn't get recognized.
It's a Sorensen girl, right? We're talking about.
Goranson?
Yeah,
Clark Goranson.
Clark Goranson, I mean,
Okay.
she's a freshman now in high school, or is she a sophomore? Yeah.
Sophomore.
She wins state,
She got second
Yeah.
in the 800 and third in the 1600.
but nonetheless, she's a gifted
Oh, yeah,
athlete. I mean,
absolutely.
just tremendous,
Yeah, we
and
need to do something.
her
Why don't we re-
elementary stuff.
Why don't we revisit this at one of your parks meetings?
Yep, we'll do that.
Okay.
That's a spring, to hopefully have it ironed out by the end of spring.
Anything else? Anybody? Chief? Nobody? Okay, I'd like to adjourn this meeting. Roll call.
A motion,
All in favor?
Motion to
We're all
adjourn.
in favor?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, the, finance meeting, approval of the finance meeting from December 15th, 2025.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Public participation, we went through that. Okay, we have a speaker tonight. It's Mrs. Hetman, Brianne Hetman from the Child Network. She has a presentation to give to us. Just so you know, I did go by her facility last week. It's an awesome facility. Chief Swinford and
Thank you.
their detective works hand in hand with her. They speak very highly of the organization. So if we could just hear what she has to say and go from there.
Good evening. As Trustee Barry mentioned, Child Network has been an organization that has worked with Mantino since its inception in 1994. We have two distinct programs at Child Network. One of them is the Children's Advocacy Center. The other is the CASA program, which is Court-Appointed Special Advocates. The reason why I'm here tonight is because we are looking to get municipality support for our organization. We have, according to a study in 2022, there was a specific dollar amount that the governor and a committee put together and said how much it costs for a child to come through the doors of Child Network. In 2022, they determined that amount, and utilizing those dollars and then the amount of children that we see at Child Network every year, we run a deficit of $375,000. So I'm new to Child Network, not new to social services, and not new to Manteno, but we have developed an ask of municipalities, Manteno included, as well as others, to help us close the gap and ensure that we can continue to provide sustainable services for the children that come through our doors. So in the packet, you'll see there's information there about how a child comes through. That's either through a referral from law enforcement, like coming from chief, or coming from the local Department of Children and Family Services. Children that are physically or abused, these are the most severe cases that come through it to the CAC. And it's a well-known model practiced here in the state of Illinois, specifically designed to limit the amount of trauma to that particular child and ensure that once they do tell their story in all of its entirety, it's only heard that one time. There is a room that Mr. Berry saw where a child comes in. It's a very friendly room. Everything is recorded, and then all of the necessary individuals are around the table, and then that recording can be used in testimony for the child. There's over 41 CACs in the state, and by statute, we are required to participate with the municipality, with the Department of Children and Family Services. So our ask as a nonprofit, I know, is not new to Manteno. Lots of nonprofits come and ask for help specifically to make sure that we can continue these services. But what's unique about our ask in specific is that it is a statute, it's required. So Swinford and his team, the entire police department works with us. We coordinate with all of the mandated reporters in the community, as those educators and others, to make sure that once a child says something that makes us think that there is something happening inside that home, that all the appropriate people come to the table and we can minimize the effects of that long-lasting trauma on that particular child. What I talked about with Mr. Berry was a $15,000 annual give. So with the statistics that I provided there, you can see that with the children that we have seen over the past 2 years, specifically from Manteno, if we utilize that dollar amount, it's almost $73,000 that it costs us to provide those services to the children just of Manteno. But we're just asking for a $15,000 ask to help support these services and make sure that we can keep that sustainability going. Are there any questions? I'm a fast talker.
Approximately without giving up, approximately how many children benefit from this program from Manteno? I know it can change. Hopefully it's a diminishing number, but.
It actually isn't. It's been very steady. I looked back. So it was 25 over the past 2 years, if we include all of 24 and all of 25. But holistically, like right now, at the end, when we ended 2025, our caseloads that we had were, we saw 267 children. That's a record. Not a record that I want to brag about, obviously, coming to our doors. And that's just on the CAC side. That doesn't include the 208 cases that we provide for CASA in Kankakee and Iroquois County. So 25 specifically came from Manteno, and that was in the 2024 and 2025 calendar year.
Are any of the other municipalities?
Yes, that's part of our ask, is that myself, along with our board of directors, have been working on, approaching other municipalities and saying, hey, how can we make sure that these services are sustainable? When the statute was created in the early 90s, it laid out a very detailed plan from the state that said if you receive municipality support, typically it's through the county government. And if you don't receive that support in the county government, then you can go through municipalities and it would be individual asks like this. We are one of the children's advocacy centers in the state that does not utilize that county government funding. It's something that I'm definitely looking into to make us, again, more sustainable since we provide the service countywide, but certainly the numbers from Manteno are telling of the needs of the children here. I had talked with Chief Swinford prior to making the ask here at the committee and said, this is what I'm thinking, this is what we need to talk about, and he absolutely agreed. I probably see Swinford more at Child Network and the police officers than I actually do, and we don't live that far from each other at all. That's how involved we are when something happens. And I anticipate that this is going to increase. The Illinois Department of Children and Family Services has been working diligently over the past 5 years to restructure things. And under that new director, they have created some procedures that make it more critical, vital, in fact, that we work directly with law enforcement, because like if CJ were to make a mandated reporting call onto the hotline, they might not necessarily take it, which I don't know if any of you guys have made a call, but they either take it or they don't. If they don't take it, that doesn't mean that there's not something happening. It just means it's not following the criteria of DCFS. In those cases, Swinford or a mandated reporter, the school district, can then call the CAC, and we can work together with that local municipality and make sure to investigate and determine if that child does need to come through the CAC walls, and then what services we need to implement there to minimize the impact of this trauma on the child. I don't want to use very specific examples, but we're talking about the most severely abused and physically and sexually abused children that are in our communities. So it is a critical service. It's by statute, you know, we have to provide it here across the county, but it's something that is important enough that we're willing to go to each municipality and say, can you support, given the fact that obviously you're working to keep your community safe, law enforcement is doing what they need to do, and everybody else circle around and make sure that we can take care of these kids that need help.
El, do you want to talk a little bit about the program?
Yeah, I mean, we learned many years ago that police officers should not be the ones interviewing kids that are been traumatized or abused. Number one, they're getting interviewed over and over again, reliving it, and we're just not experts in it. It's something that takes an expert who's been trained in how to interview children that are traumatized, and that's how this group got started to begin with. It became a protocol through the state's attorney's office that police officers shouldn't be doing this. We created this organization that does it, trained them, experts are experienced, and it's been extremely valuable. I completely support anything we can do to help them. I know it's hard as a nonprofit these days to keep the lights on, and they've struggled for years. I don't know what we would do without them. We'd be right back to where we were 40 years ago or 30 years ago with individual officers interviewing these children. And, you know, like she said, children are in the worst possible situation who need to be handled very carefully. And 25 may not sound like a big number. That's one, think about that. That's one kid from Manteno every single month that we're investigating some sort of abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, some sort of trauma. That's really quite a large number. And they actually will interview kids for other reasons as well, but typically it's physical or sexual abuse for us anyway. So yes, I completely support anything we can do for them.
And I didn't ask the number to, if it was one child, I guess you guys probably all know where I'm thinking with this is, got the River Valley deal, gotta be fair, right? If I was the parent of a disabled child, I would be saying how many kids versus how much we contributed. I would like to help support it. I want to make sure that whatever we do, we're fair with both programs, right?
And I think that with this particular program, when Mrs. Hetman and Chief Swinford had discussed it, I mean, they work hand in hand with these kids.
Yep.
And I think that touring their facility on Friday or last week was a big eye-opening thing for me. I mean, you walk through there, and she walked me step by step on how and I mean, some of the cases, we didn't go into specifics, but I mean, it's some pretty disgusting stuff. You know, and I think with our police department, I mean, Detective Prophet was there. He sits on the board of directors there. I mean, they had officers from 4 or 5 other districts that day. They had a staff meeting, and they were talking the staff meeting. There was 87 cases they had last month. And it's Kankakee and Iroquois County, and now they are reaching out to other municipalities. They're reaching out to the county because, I mean, she said that the cases from 2023 were 206, I think it was, or 200 something, and you were up to 286
No,
cases.
it was, our forensic interviews in 2023 were in the hundreds, and now we're well into the 200s. Like, it just keeps increasing every year. I think if I could, Trustee Getzke, address what you said, I think the difference here is, again, I'm no stranger to nonprofit community. I've worked in nonprofits since 2000, so I know I look really young, but I've been in this game a long time, and I'm always looking for ways that we can leverage any dollars that we possibly can for service. I think the difference here with Child Network is this is a statute. It's required. Chief does not have the opportunity to say, no, we're not going to work with them, or yes, we are. We have to do it. And our community's responsibility, because we did not structure this type of child response to trauma as a county, then that means that it falls on the responsibility of our municipalities because it's a statute. And I know that there's other nonprofits that ask, for dollars and support and sustainability, and I know it's hard to choose between them. But I know without a doubt that this in particular is important because it is part of Illinois law. It's part of their procedure. It's part of our procedure. It's how the cases are prosecuted. That all falls on this entity's shoulders. And that's a big burden to bear, and we can't continue to do it on our own, trying to close that gap with sustainability. And the study was made in 2022. The cost of business has increased quite a bit. So here I go into 2026 making sure, and we are keeping the lights on, like Chief said, and there's never been a minute that our board of directors has let anything else like that ever happen. But that means that we need to start planning for the future. And with numbers like this that are increasing, as I'm learning things there, and I see that, we had 125 forensic interviews in 22 and, 150 in 23, and we did 267 in 2025. That's too many. And we need to do all that we can to make sure that everyone knows that Child Network is there, that we can help the children in our communities, that we can help our mandated reporters as they're making these calls, and then make sure that those procedures are swift and as least traumatizing as possible, again, for what that child has already experienced.
I have 3 questions.
Okay.
How was the $15,000 arrived at is question number 1. How would that look like then in years ahead, 26, 27? And is in other communities within the county, is that an equal share? Is it a percentage? How is that?
Very transparent. I looked at the Village of Manteno's financials, and utilizing my own skills in managing organizations, I was like, I think a $15,000 ask is reasonable. It's a very small percentage of the budget. I don't anticipate an increase. I don't anticipate coming back every year saying we need more and we need more. This would be an additional revenue line item that just helps us just edge over some of the needs that we have. We need to hire another forensic interviewer. We have one, and Samantha has completed over 712 forensic interviews. And as Chief said, that's a very specialized field. There's lots of training that goes involved in that. So I just looked at budgets and said, what looks like it would be the most palatable, something that can impact a line item minimally if it falls under, the station's budget, and how would that look for us? But I don't, there's not a part of this ask that anticipates that we would be coming back year after year and saying it needs to be more, it needs to be more. I'm not going to say never, because if the data for some reason shows that, our investment here in Manteno far exceeds someone else, then we'll have to have another conversation. But, it was really just an examination of dollars and a palatable ask for what we're looking for to have this additional line item.
And then my third question, how is that distributed amongst other municipalities? Is basically just looking at their budgets as well? And
Absolutely,
kinda
absolutely.
looking at it a little more subjectively than there's this formula across the board.
Yeah, it's a formula, but, based on population and needs. So I will share with you that just last year alone, we did 33 interviews for Bradley, the Village of Bradley. So I did absolutely, look at each municipality, kind of show the investment in some of those different areas. And again, I'm just using one particular statistic. There's, thousands of hours of advocacy that our staff provides to those families, seeing them through the court process, making sure everybody understands everything. But that's just an easy statistic to come out with. So, yeah, in 2025, Bradley had 33 forensic interviews that were completed. So, if I remember correctly, I believe we had, for the Village of Manteno, it was 12 in 2024 and 13 in 2025. So, but the Village of Bradley was 33 just in 1 year.
So is Bradley, are they contributing?
I have a meeting set up with them as well.
If you don't mind me asking, what's the ask of them?
I haven't drafted their letter just yet,
Okay.
but theirs is 33 forensic interviews completed. Yours is 25 over 2 years, so theirs is more. But I have not drafted that. I've just provided the preliminary information to get the meeting.
Chris, do you know, and I'm asking a question off the top of the head and didn't expect you to have the answer to, but our ordinance violations, what sort of revenue do we generate from that? You know what last year's ordinance?
It's typically somewhere, if we able to collect it all, a lot of it gets turned into the state, because even though we issue the ordinance fine, we don't always get it. But I would say income-wise, we're probably somewhere between 7,500 and maybe 12,000 a year on average. So maybe use 10,000 as kind of an average. We also do have a line item for police donations. I believe we've donated to maybe SWAT before. And there was another one that we used to have in the budget, but we haven't had to use that in a while. Can't remember what the other organization was. But I think we did budget $5,000 in this year's budget for police donations to those types of organizations.
We did receive, prior to COVID, county dollars from fines and ordinance violations, and then those dollars were cut. It was a drastic cut to our budget. Predated me, but it was several $1,000s every year. Any other questions?
No, but I want to thank you for coming. We really appreciate what you're doing, and we empathize with all the people who are going through these problems, and we will do whatever we can to help.
Yeah, appreciate your time, and if anyone else has any further questions, the contact information for Child Network is there in the folder, as well as my card, but I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, then the next thing I had on there, and I already spoke to Chris about it, I kind of got an answer about it, how the budget works for 2027 or for next year. He said that, could you explain that a little bit more, Chris?
Sure, yeah. So we start our budgeting process in January. First thing is the department heads get a worksheet that goes out to them in January. We distributed that a week ago today. Then they take about 3 to 4 weeks to go through what they've done last year, what they're going to need for this year, including equipment purchases, vehicles, computers, and anything they need, operational. We kind of look at the previous years to see what those numbers look like. So they turn those in, we meet with the department heads, and then plug those numbers into the preliminary budget. And then at the finance meeting in February, we'll provide a initial preliminary budget for everyone to kind of go through. And then that gives the board the opportunity to look at those line items and see if there's something that they want to cut. Also programs that the board wants to do, projects. That's when that comes up so that we can plug those into the budget as well.
So something like Mrs. Hunt was just talking about, would that be something we'd be able to put into the police budget, or?
Yeah, I mean, again, these are all board decisions, so those are the things we're looking for now to see what the board wants to add to the budget. Whether that's donations to organizations or, again, projects that the board feels are necessary. We plug all that in, and then, again, we start with the first one in February. There's another one that comes out in March, and then the actual budget is approved in April. So we do have a couple months to fine-tune all the numbers.
Okay, I appreciate it. That's all I have.
I have just one quick thing, maybe off of George. So how much is the garbage disposal yearly for us cost? Rough estimate.
We'll probably, this year, I think it was about 670,000. Next year, we'll probably be pretty close to 700,000.
Okay. I'm just trying to think, because you just sent us the gaming numbers this week. So like from the gaming machines, we made roughly $320-something thousand of revenue. I don't know how we designate that money, but I'm just trying to think of where can we get revenue without overburdening of could that be used to again, either fund this organization that's that's nothing, but also again, putting that towards the garbage, because I agree, I think that is a great benefit we could extend as long as possible. I don't know, I was just trying to spitball again ideas of where are we getting revenue from without overcharging, and that's obviously revenue we just get.
So, yeah, that revenue just goes in the general fund for
Okay.
operating expenses.
You know, and I think too is that, and I know we've been going back and forth to KV SRA, you know, with the discussions on that. My whole thing about this program in particular, it seems like the police department really works hand in hand with this. Our school districts work hand in hand with this. And it's not saying it's not taking anything away from the KV. I think we went there. I know that she sent a couple emails about sitting back down at the table. I mean, my whole thing about it is I don't know what more, we had 5 board members there, you know, and it's not taking away anything from other residents. Yeah, I think we're more than willing as a board to work with people, but it's just trying to find that common ground or that median of where it's A, feasible for the village, and B, feasible for, you know, for the residents. And I think with that approach was, you know, there was talk about, you know, the park districts and tax levies and everything else like this, and we come with a donation, they don't really want that, they want it on the tax roll.
Well, I think some of the justification to this program is that it's helping victims of crimes recover a little bit, which hopefully prevents them from becoming violators of the same thing. So it's in the entire community's public best interest to help fund that, to help those victims recover. So I just, as we think about it, as we go through it, and we'll have to have more discussion, I just want to, I tossed out the River Valley piece just because
Sure.
we've all got the emails, right? And they're passionate about it, and so are we, but I want to make sure that we're being fair with everyone.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And I, like I said, with this particular one, in instance, it seems like, I mean, you have knowledge.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, as Chief Swinford said, the training, I'm not trained as a teacher. He's not trained, like, you need professionals to go about this in the most, it's the most severe manner for young children to go through. You need professionals to do it. I don't see why not, too, that we wouldn't try to find a way to kind of make this work with it, because of that.
And I mean,
It's
just
a
if
serious
their
matter.
facility, the way that they have it structured and the way that the children are brought in and the way that it's designed, I mean, it really, you walk out of there and I think I said to Ms. Hemmond, you get a real calm feeling. You know what I mean? Like, that's probably the worst thing that could ever happen. But you get, even with the children, they get a real calm feeling. And then I was able to meet some of their, the lady that does the audit, I mean, not the audits, the speaking to the children. And I mean, you could just see her passion in it. And in some of the cases, I mean, you know, she didn't go into detail, but you could tell that some of the stuff was really, really bad stuff.
Correct.
So, I appreciate it. Motion adjourned.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.